Welcome to episode 150 episode of Broad Street Hustle. I am your host tonight, Tommy Nanny, with the OG crew of when it all started to bring, I guess, round up 150. I think that's generally a big year when it's 150, right? It's a milestone. So let's get started on who we got. We got Jason Sayeda.
Yeah, 150 is just about 3 years, right?
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
We got Jimmy the Chalk.
Uh, yeah, I was trying to look it up. I want to say it's sesquicentennial, but I don't know. But yeah,
Yeah.
150. That's a big number.
So what are we gonna do? So for the 100th episode, we had a nice little reminiscent. For the 150th episode, we're gonna talk about your undefeated Philadelphia Phillies, 1-0. So we're gonna get into the game. We're gonna give out thoughts. Um, we'll overreact a little bit to game one, but doesn't mean more for the rest of the season. And then we're going to get into the Florida Derby. So prep for the Kentucky Derby, which is about a month away, a little over a month away, I guess. So the big prep in Florida um, goes off for Saturday, and we're going to cover it. So let's kick this off. As always, this episode is brought to you by Giovannina's Pizza. You tried the best. Now try the rest. Okay, as I said, Phillies are 1-0. I remember listening to on Twitter when they used to call in Mike Francesca and ask them if they think the Mets are going to go 162-0 this
Yeah.
year, undefeated. Jason, do you think the Phillies are going to go undefeated this year?
The funny thing is, Chris Roselli, who has been on our podcast before, texted me that, and I said you should call Mike Francesa. What do you think?
There's some of the fun. And
Yeah.
it takes him a few seconds before he even realizes like
Yeah,
the question.
Do you think when the baseball giants are in town, they have lunch with the football giants?
yeah.
You know, that's-
That's like a 10-minute tweet of
yeah.
of balls and breaking his balls. It's so funny.
Best clips. Yeah.
It is.
So yes, no, they will not go undefeated. It is nice to win
We
the
don't know that
opening
yet.
game.
It's
Well,
possible.
that's
You
true.
got to win your
They
first
are
game to get to
Can't
162.
They're
say
one of
that definitively.
one of 16 or 18 teams possible that 16, I guess, that could possibly go undefeated. So it's true. They did win 7-4. They scored 3 runs in regulation. They got 4, I guess it was, in the 10th with the ghost runner. They struck out 19 times, which broke all kinds of records. I think for Philadelphia and I don't know around the league. I would guess.
Yeah.
Chalky usually knows that stuff. But they did. I mean, when the ace came out, they started to hit. There was shadows were a big part of the conversation. I mean, Bone was very, very adamant about it. So there has to be some truth to it. But
Yeah.
Jason, why don't you give us your thoughts?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we could get into Bohm. He kind of he rubs me the wrong way a lot. But anyway, I thought Gore was absolutely dominant. Now, I don't think when you go back to the Phillies in the playoffs and when they're swinging at everything and swinging at balls over their head and in the dirt. I didn't see that yesterday. I don't think that they were like. I don't think that they were like what's the name and like chasing balls.
Chasing, no, I don't have the chase rate numbers, but it didn't seem that way. I mean, they were working counts. They were
I
just
think
striking
this
out.
guy was just painting corners yesterday and was just dominant. Now, yeah, okay, I'm sure the shadows played a small part in it. I'm sure, but this guy was dominant. Wheeler was just as dominant. Maybe he gave up the one home run, but that Ruiz had a great at bat. If you guys remember, I think he worked it like a 10 pitch at bat. And when you do that to Wheeler, obviously we've all watched Wheeler for the last 5 or 6 years. I always notice like when he can't put guys away, he's done, right? And I could tell like as that bat was going on, I'm like Wheeler's probably pretty much done because he's not putting this guy away. And then again, you got to tip your cap to Ruiz. I mean, it was just a great at bat, but Wheeler was excellent, and maybe the shadows helped him too. But like you said, they as soon as they took Gore out, Harper banged the home run to get them back in the game, and then Schwarber hit his home run. I think the inning after. then the Phillies took the lead, and then I'll go back to a comment I made when we did the Phillies preview. I thought Dombrowski left the bullpen short. He let Hoffman go, and he let his closer go, Estevez, and he really only replaced him with this Romano guy, who was a disaster yesterday. I mean, the guy's coming off an injury. We don't know what this guy's going to be. So, and then it looked like, well, it didn't look like it is. I mean, Alvarado was dominant in spring training, and it looks like he's the closer right now. I have something to talk about after you guys give your thoughts, but I thought Stott, and maybe I'm oversimplifying things, but if in the ninth inning, if that's Chase Utley, if that's Larry Boa, they're getting hit by that pitch and the run scoring. Take one for the team. Like I don't understand anymore. Like bases are loaded, there's 2 outs and a tie game in the ninth inning. Get hit. Pete Rose is getting hit. Get hit. Score the run. So that pissed me off. Then he chased ball 4. And then Bohm came up big in extra innings. I thought Dave Martinez totally blew it with leaving the left-hander in the hit Bohm. I mean for to pitch to Bohm when he had a right-hander in the bullpen. So, those are my thoughts. I want to get into more stuff after you guys give your thoughts.
Yeah, Chalky, first impressions of the game?
Well, I think the game eclipsed the best and the worst that this team could give you. You had great starting pitching from Wheeler. He only ended up going 6 because he had that 12 pitch at bat to Ruiz, which was basically an inning's worth of pitches just to one batter. But he gave up 1 run, 2 hits, both to Ruiz. And there were a couple other pitches that the umpire squeezed him a little bit and could have been strikeouts that had to extend counts, But Wheeler, looked sharp. You had a couple of the, Kerkering almost gave up a run, but there was not one solidly hit ball in any of those that were anything that came off the bat. So that was, not on him. And then, you had your starting pitching keeps you in the game, and then your big bats come and flip the script with Harper and Schwarber hitting a home run in the same inning, and all of a sudden you got the lead. And then your heart of the lineup, 2 through 5 ended up contributing at one point or another. Now, of course, you were about, well, is Stott going to come back? What will Marsh do every day? Is Turner a leadoff hitter? Well, none of them got hits. And then the bullpen. And as a team, you struck out 19 times out of 30 possible outs. So it's not a matter of just not getting on base. It's you're not making productive outs where you're moving a runner. Marsh, I wanted to strangle Marsh because he couldn't get a bunt down in the 10th inning, which didn't matter anyway in the end.
Still on the team? Why
he's a problem. He's going to be gone. He's not going to be on the team after the All-Star break.
They're starting Crawford in AAA, right? Maybe he gets up before the end of the year. I don't know. Maybe he's your everyday center fielder. So it's I don't know. So, it was one of those, I hate baseball because the Phillies are going to lose 1-0 because they can't hit, to baseball is great, to I hate baseball because the bullpen stinks. And Romano looks like they pulled him out of a bus terminal. Like he was he was sleeping on a bench. I didn't know he looked that crazy.
He kind of has like a weird delivery too. I didn't really. Me neither.
And then extra innings. You love baseball again because they put up 4 runs in the extras. But was Alvarado that got the guy to swing and miss and the pitch hit him? Was it Ruiz or somebody?
It
was it Kerkering that did that? So there was some control issues at times, but I agree that the Washington manager missing out the bullpen. He kept Ferrer in for 30-something pitches, giving up 3 runs or whatever. They certainly benefited from some questionable bullpen management on the Washington side, and
Well, even and I was at work and then I had a thing, so I had one eye on and one eye off. But Harper batted against his home run was against a righty, right? What was the?
Yeah,
Harper hit it off Sims, right? Yeah.
Yeah. Why did they bring him in if it was going to be Harper and then
that was one of the things that Kruk and McCarthy were talking about, because I think they did bring Ferrer in to pitch a Schwarber, got the home run, and then he gave up the wild pitch right in the next inning. Was it that they got the run home or whatever?
Yeah.
But yeah, they're saying why did this guy not come in earlier? And
Yeah,
then they
yeah, that's
left
just
him in
something.
too long. So, got 161 more to go. So we'll see. But up and down first
Yeah,
day.
yeah, and I'll be quick, and then I'll finish it. That'll lead into I know something Jason wanted to talk about, but yeah, I mean, I think Jimmy said a lot of the game encompassed the things that you were been worried about the Phillies for the last few years and going into the season. One was the bullpen, which it's one game, but then it was the strikeouts, the unproductive outs, which is they've done. JT striking out 3 times before hitting a fly ball that was dropped for
That
a
should have been
triple.
caught. That should have been.
Yeah, like Marsh, Jason alluded to, like, do we have a weak outfield, and Marsh shouldn't be playing. Then it leads into like what is Topper trying to prove that Marsh can play against lefties? Because he why like so Marsh isn't going to platoon. I'm not saying your other options are great, but now Marsh is going to play every day, even against lefties when
Yeah,
he can't.
I guess he's
Apparently.
going to try to force Marsh into being a full time guy. I don't
Like
know.
what? I mean, we're not talking about like Mike Trout here. It's Marsh. What like it's enough with him. I mean, he is what
I'm
he
along the
is.
lines with Chalky, where I think that they might be just waiting for Crawford.
Yeah. So, but that I mean, to me, and this is my other point is like, why was JT batting fifth? Like Jason said, and it's almost like Topper. JT, you've been on the team for a while. You're a veteran. We're going to put you five because that's what we do. It's like still doing the favors for the guys and not managing the team to their best strengths. It's not move like they tried to turn her out and lead off against the lefty, and I guess they're going to switch back to Schwarber. But I don't know. It's a lot of the. I'm not a big Topper guy, so I just think you're going to get that where he's a player's manager. But yeah, the lineup. I mean, and Jason alluded to it with JT batting five, like in between. Was it Schwarber and whoever it was.
Or Kepler.
Kepler.
Well, I
Kepler.
like to, I want to throw this in. If Kepler stays healthy, he's a good player. Like
Yeah,
that
yeah,
guy,
yeah. I
he's a
mean, he
good
was and he
player.
was good. He was good in spring, and he was good game one.
And
But
he's
yeah,
a
so you had some comments on the lineup, right?
Yeah, I just like you said. I mean, I don't think JT should be hitting that high in the lineup. I think he should be switched with Castellanos. Put Castellanos fifth and put JT seventh. Um, I don't, JT is. I'm a big fan of his, but he looks like he's slowing down. Um, and I think you're going to wind up having Schwarber not getting pitched to if you're going to leave JT there. So I would switch them. Um, I'm fine with Turner leading off, but it seems like they're only going to lead him off against lefties, and they're going to leave Schwarber off against righties. I don't know. I'd prefer to just leave it as is.
Yeah, I mean, do you guys buy into like guys like to be comfortable in their spot in the lineup, and it helps them? Obviously baseball's 160 games, so one game from one game to the next, but comfortability goes for a month at a time. So does
I mean, my thing is
but
if you do that and you're going to do the lefty righty every other, like they clearly set the lineup for, then you could be your spot. Everybody's spot in the lineup could be different on most days. So I mean, I think there's something to be said for consistency. If you were just constantly switching two guys, I'm sure there are guys that can handle that. But okay, Harper hits second yesterday. If Schwarber leads off, he hits third. Real Muto is fifth. Is he sixth when Schwarber like that back and forth? I mean, put it this way, I can't. I know times change. I can't remember a championship team that shifted the lineup every other
Yeah.
day like that. In order wise, yeah, you get players that switch in and out, but you know who your 3, 4, 5 guys are set. If they don't, switch every day just because somebody else is a lefty or a righty, and you're switching the top of the order, like that's pretty unique, I think.
One thing I noticed yesterday, and I really have to say that I didn't realize it. and it's probably because he was so bad in the playoffs. Was Turner hit 295 last year with
Yeah, yeah. I
20
thought it
home
was
runs
296. What 296 wasn't it?
or
Two ninety
something like
five.
that? Right.
Yeah,
I mean, that's good.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, he
It
before he got hurt last year, he was hitting
Yeah, he
well.
was like 340 or something when he got hurt. Right, he was
yeah,
towards the top of the league, and then he
Yeah,
tailed
I
off.
think with Turner, it's obviously the playoffs this year or last year, and it was the approach, like just the pitches he was chasing was like
yeah,
And I
hard
can't,
hard to
I don't
dodge.
remember all of his at bats, but certainly the first one sticks in my mind. It's like took ball one, great, swung at 2 strikes right down the middle, foul back, foul back. Like those are your pitches to hit, and so it wasn't a matter of him chasing bad pitches. Like Jason was saying with the whole team, like they were swinging and missing at strikes,
yeah.
and whether it's the shadows or just Gore's got really good stuff. Who knows? But like if you can swing at strikes and not chase the bad ones, you can sort of work that out where you'll make contact against good pitches. So the discipline, obviously 13 strikeouts in 6 innings. You're not happy except for the time that the game flying by. But their plate discipline, I thought, was fairly decent, despite the strikeout number. They just couldn't hit what Gore was throwing.
Yeah, I think that was a positive. Was they were seeing pitches, they weren't necessarily chasing. So it wasn't the same Phillies from the Mets series where they
Yeah.
swung at everything. I'm a believer that I think the Shadows had to have more to do it. I know Jason said that they probably had something to do with it, but for Bohm to come out and say it, and then where he talked about, oh, what are we doing playing games at 4 o'clock? You want to bet?
Yeah.
When they start going after the product or the league, that's what makes me think it wasn't just an excuse. It was for real. And it's always been a thing in baseball, but it seems like in the national stadium, it's a little bit worse. So I think it might have been really a thing.
Yeah, and I don't know about you guys. So they did the auto umps in spring training this year, and I was wondering how long it would take before was ready to call from the regular season. I think it was about the fifth batter of the game when the umpire was just missing calls on Wheeler, and I was like, let's get the robo umps in for the balls and strikes because
there was a moment in the gate where I was like, oh, they need the challenge. I forgot you can't.
Yeah,
the challenge was just in the spring training.
Yeah.
But yeah, anything else around the Phillies, the game, or going forward? I know Jason had a few things.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about the bullpen. And obviously, I think Dombrowski is on the hot seat because I think he left them short unless he's thinking about adding somebody. Now, I did hear, I was watching MLB Network either yesterday or the day before, and Dan O'Dowd was on, and he did pick the Phillies to win the World Series. But he said he thinks that Painter is going to come up midseason and become the closer in the playoffs.
I mean, that was my reaction to you leading in with the bullpen thing. Was part of me thinks that they're expecting Painter to contribute there in the second half, assuming that your rotation is healthy, or if you don't trade a Suarez and you're not comfortable making him your fourth or fifth guy, do you move him to the bullpen where he's come at it before and he's an arm that can come out if you want Painter to be your fifth starter? Let's just say.
I think I don't want. I know Alvarado has been lights out, and when his stuff is on, he's unhittable. But to me, he's still an seventh and eighth inning guy. He's not a closer because he could get wild. I think the closer should be Kerkering by the end of the year because I think that kid has the lights out stuff. You want guys. I mean, Alvarado could close because you want closers that don't put the ball in play, right? You want strikeouts and stuff. I think Kerkering has that stuff.
That's one of the problems with Romano too, where he doesn't throw. He's a slider pitcher, so he throws a lot of chase pitches, but that could lead to walks too, and that's the one thing. Same with Alvarado.
I don't know how much of a head case he is either, because they blew the first call, his first pitch was a dead strike, umpire doesn't call, and I don't know if that throws him off and he's just one of those guys that now he's not focused. I don't know, but I agree. I think Kerkering's probably going to be your closer. I don't trust Alvarado to hold up for a whole season
No.
as the closer for sure. So I think of these guys, you got to look at moving Kirkring in by the end. And the other thing I'll say is I don't think I'm not sure who their center fielder will be by playoff time. It's not going to be Marsh as the guaranteed starter. So whether it's back to a platoon, whether it's Crawford, or whether they make a deal, I don't see Marsh as your everyday starter in center field by the time the playoffs come around.
Yeah, I think they're going to give him a chance, but I just don't think he's. I think he's a platoon player, and you don't have a stronger other side of the platoon because Rojas is not going to hit,
No.
right? I mean, if I mean, I can't even say that because Marsh isn't going to hit lefties. They have a problem in center field.
Yeah,
It's a problem.
they have a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Kepler, I want to say I think Kepler is going to, if he stays healthy. Now he's had injury issues. If he stays healthy, he's a guy. Kruk said he's 40 home run guy. Listen. I love John Kruk. I think he was. I'm not going to say
He's way off on that. Let's just say that.
Game yesterday, but he was.
He had ice cream. He said
off.
that, but
He was a little off yesterday. But I think you could get 260, 30 home runs from him. And
Yeah, I mean, he was what? He was 2 for 4, and he was on base 3 times.
Walked.
two walks. He was 1 for 3 with a couple walks.
Oh, is that what- yeah, so
But
like
they were all
yeah.
good at bats.
Yeah.
Good player if he's
Yeah.
healthy.
I mean, if you can get 130 games out of him, and with the way the Phillies park, you should be able to get to 30 home runs. But that's been the problem is getting them.
I'd be happy with 25 to 30 home runs, 265. Good, great defense.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one game as the season goes, we'll see. Now they play another 4:05 game Saturday, so we'll see how the shadows are. And
it's going to be like summer tomorrow. It's going to be like 80.
It's going to
like low
be
80s.
yeah, here it's going to be like 78, 79. Washington is like probably just as nice.
They said in the broadcast it's going to be in the 80s, or they were expecting it.
Yeah.
As of yesterday, so.
Yeah, well, we got what's his name, the Florida kid, pitching, right?
Lizardo is starting tomorrow.
Lizardo.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, Lizardo starting tomorrow?
I
Yeah.
believe so.
Yeah,
Really?
he's doing the same thing he does with the batting lineup. He's going righty, lefty, righty, lefty.
And he
Then-
wants Sanchez for the home opener, I believe, right?
Yes. Nola will pitch Sunday. Sanchez will pitch Monday, and then Walker, because Suarez is out, will pitch.
I mentioned that I thought by the playoffs that might be a thing where they split up.
Well, I think but I think this might have been because to get Sanchez the home opener, or no?
I don't know if that's specifically
Oh.
why. I don't know if that is or not.
Otherwise,
but-
it would have been not. Well, he's probably like whoever just said it. I think he's splitting up righty lefty.
Yeah. I just thought it was going to be Sanchez. I thought it was going to be in line.
Well, Sanchez pitches better at home.
At home, yeah.
Yeah.
So and then Walker will go Wednesday. They're not good. I mean, they don't have to pitch Walker. They could pitch Wheeler back.
They could. That's a good point. I don't know that, but until Suarez is back, Walker is the 5.
Yeah,
when they need the
of
5, yeah.
And I guess they're doing that because Ross could pitch relief and Walker can't.
Yeah.
Probably the reason because Ross.
Yeah, I mean Walker is. That's what you have him for. But it's one of those things. Depending on what Suarez misses, but like. You can't let what happened last year happen where you just keep putting them out there.
Every 5th game, you were losing.
Yeah, like no shot. So you can't do that. You can give him his chance, but you can't just you got to call quits when it's time when I mean,
yeah, totally agree. He shouldn't be here either. Another guy that
shouldn't be here anyway, but he is, and I mean it could be a little bit of a nice luxury to have that Suarez goes down and Walker can give you some innings, but it just depends.
Gives you 5 innings, 3 runs.
Right. That's
what I'm asking.
Yeah.
It just can't be what it was last year.
So according to ESPN, it looks like they are going to go Sanchez, which we said for Monday, the home opener. They're off Tuesday, and then back to Wheeler on Wednesday.
That's the benefit of these off days in the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
You can get away with
Now,
it.
they wouldn't be that would allow them to go back to Lizardo for Thursday if they want to. So, yeah. You probably wouldn't have to use Walker until the Dodger series. That's not good. But
Oh, jeez.
yeah,
You might want him anyway. It's probably going to be a loss anyway. So
That's true.
get
Yeah,
him out of the way.
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. Anything else before we move to the Florida Derby? I mean, I think pretty good first game reactions. And
Yeah, I mean, it's one out of 162, and I'm sure we're overreacting with everybody that we just talked
yeah, and it's going to
about.
be like that all year. I mean, baseball has become, in a sense, football, where you analyze every single game, even though there's 160. Like, we used to just analyze months at a time. Like, let's analyze June. Now it's every game. I mean, what else do we got to do?
Well, Philadelphia Winter Sports is
Yeah.
I would say I took
So-
I took the extra day to prepare a list of possible Flyers head coaches if we wanted to kill some time. But
the Flyers should be losing. So the Flyers, once again, over the last 20 years, the Flyers are one of the worst run organizations in professional sports.
I just thought they waited too long to lose too. Like they started now.
Waited too long to lose. They should have been trading. This Lawton was here for 3 years longer than he should have been.
but they didn't even lose right. Like the
They don't
Sixers, the
lose right.
Sixers did it right. Just they weren't
No,
getting the
I'm
first
saying
pick.
I'm
But
just saying this year too.
well, this
Like,
year,
they
yeah.
hung
but-
around for half the season.
No, it
You
wasn't like
don't-
last year where they started hot and could be a fringe playoff team. They were not good at any point this
You
year.
don't hire John Tortorella to rebuild. That's a guy you hire when you have a soft coach and you keep getting knocked out of playoffs early and you got a good team. Now you bring
Yeah.
in a hard ass coach and he's going to bring you over the top. You don't hire him when you want to rebuild and lose games. That's why he basically said it in his last press conference.
Yeah, he said I
Yeah.
can't coach
I
this
don't-
way. It's
this
hard
is
for me to
all-
get up and coach this
Yeah.
way.
Because they're tanking now, which is what they should have been doing for the last friggin' 5 years. So it don't matter who they hire. They're not winning for at least 3 years.
Oh
They need
yeah.
to get a top 5 pick this year. They need to get a top 5 pick next year, and then maybe you could start thinking about
And they got to connect on the
you
picks.
you got to make the right picks.
Yeah. Yeah. And then we missed Meeker's March Madness this year. We didn't get a chance to get. I don't know if he gave it to you
He
offline, but
probably would have been doing unbelievable because all the chalks winning.
yeah.
Yeah.
Didn't he have all the number 1 seeds last year? Chalky?
I'm not sure if it was all of them, but he didn't have like a 7 seed on the Final Four.
he
That's
would
for sure.
He missed his chance because he would look
And
like
Duke, and Duke's now.
Duke's,
he'd
yeah.
have Duke. Yeah,
Duke's ranked
exactly.
high, but
So
yeah.
he missed the boat this year. He would have been.
Yeah.
All right, let's jump into the Florida Derby, which will be run at Gulfstream Park. It is a prep for the Kentucky Derby. It'll be run at, let me see here,
6:42.
6:42. Is that right? Holy smokes!
That is
It's
correct.
It's on one of those NBC channels.
Yeah, geez, that is late. That's gonna be close to under the lights. 6:42. Race 14. They'll be running a mile and an eighth. And is there only one? So we did cover the Fountain of Youth on this podcast a couple weeks back.
Yeah, it's the only race we covered, I think. So
Yeah,
No,
so
did we
and
get
it
something
does
else?
looks
No.
like we got. Yeah, that was it. That was the only race we covered.
No, yeah, that's
For
what
the
we
yeah
covered.
for this calendar.
And it
year.
looks like we got only 2 horses coming back from the Fountain of Youth running this race. So one of them is the 8-5, the 10 horse, the 8-5 favorite Sovereignty, who closed in the Fountain of Youth to win the race.
Yeah.
Then you have Baffert, that's a 7-2, a Cox a 5-1, a Pletcher a 4-1, and then a whole lot of bombs, pretty much. I mean, there's a 12, 10, and a 12 in there, but a lot of bombs. So, Chalky, you want to kick us off? Thoughts on the Florida Derby?
Yeah, so I mean, you mentioned Sovereignty, who is that more like favorite one, the Fountain of Youth, and it wasn't I haven't checked the stats this year. Gulfstream traditionally was not a closer favoring track, but was not a particularly hot pace he was able to close into and get up at the end. I'm going to go against him this time out because I just don't 8-5 or less. I just don't think it's going to be value. And you got Franco coming in to ride because Alvarado's out for a couple weeks, so it's his first time on the horse. And when you're coming from behind like that, you gotta. I feel better with somebody that knows the horse instead of trying to learn that to do the first time on the horse. And when you're Tappan Street, the Cox horse with Saez, I also very closely would put Disruptor up there. So you got $2 million purchases. It's the second or third race, for both of them. First step up into graded stakes class. We've seen trainers make this move in Florida, particularly Pletcher before with lightly raced horses they think highly enough of to get up there. Ortiz is on Disruptor. He could get out to the lead, and Neoquos, the Savvy Joseph horse, will probably be out there too. But if Irad can give him a great ride, it might be enough to go wire to wire. He's certainly, the Spitestown mare gives me a little bit of hesitation, but Gunrunner throws out good horses. I just don't like Sovereignty here. And Mataket Road for Baffert, he's improved, but now Gaffleone's out, so you got Mike Smith coming in. I'm not crazy on Mike Smith coming in on a horse that hasn't fully proven himself yet, where he can just go on cruise control. So,
Chalky, what happened with Gaffleone? Did he get hurt?
Gaffleone is hurt. Yes, he's hurt for a couple weeks, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah. So again, my he broke his ankle.
So he's out for a while.
He's out for a while, yeah. So, I mean, one of those two, I'll put the Cox horse a little higher than the Pletcher, but those would be my two top choices to win. And then, the Joseph horse could end up at the bottom of the try, like we said before. And then, you play Sovereignty or you're playing the chalk, but, maybe the Lynch horse gets in there somewhere and you can juice it up a little bit. So I would probably try and keep Sovereignty out of the try if you're going to play that.
Yeah, usually I'll go to Jason, but I'm actually going to take it only because I do not disagree much with anything that Chalky kind of said. I mean, my top pick was Tappan Street as well. I love Chalky mentioned it's his third start, similar to Disruptor, who I also did like. But the difference is this is his third start, but he did have a start as a 2-year-old, so it's his second start this year.
Yeah.
Which I do like because the foundation of the 2-year-old, regardless of.
And he's gone 2 turns once, which Disruptor hasn't. So I forgot to
his
mention
first
that.
race for this year was off of 2 turns. He was kind of close to a hot, what seemed to be a quicker pace, where Disruptor is now on his third start, but all this year. So that gives me that I lean more towards Tappan Street. I don't love the 9. I know, like, the outside post in Florida, Gulfstream is tough. I would like to see maybe one of these pigs inside of him scratch, and maybe he gets to move over a spot or two. Especially if we get like the 30 to 1s that weren't going to really affect the odds to begin with. So a little bit of hope there. Because I don't think it would affect the price, but definitely would move him up. I like Size. Size is going to be aggressive, so he doesn't need to lead, but I think he's going to ride a race that's going to keep him close to it, which generally you want to see. I know Chalky said Sovereignty won from off the pace, which was definitely odd. Although that race, the fractions, I guess, didn't come back as quick. They were kind of going at each other there, so it could have been a deceivingly faster pace. And the only thing is the 2 horses that were going at it did hold for second and third. But Matacat Road, I'm very against Matacat Road. Now, Chalky said Smith is riding for the first time. Look, Gaffleone was riding for the first time too. I mean, this horse has had 4 races, 4 different jockeys. Now the 5th different jockey. There was no improvement from 2-year-old to 3-year-old, which for Baffert is not something you generally see, unless the 2-year-old race is like a monster race, and Matacat Road was not one of those. So I don't see a huge improvement. He left Oaklawn. I know he has a big horse in the Arkansas Derby this week, so probably one of the reasons, and he's trying to get this horse points. But I'm against Matacat Road. He would be one that I would definitely leave off the trifecta. The Rosario horse, the I guess you would say the Lynch horse, he's an interesting one for the board. I also thought the Delgado horse was interesting for the board, the 2 horse, for one that can round out maybe a try. And if you want to make money, leaving Sovereignty off the trifecta is for sure a good strategy. But a horse like that has talent and is going to be coming late. Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say that you get a he's not going to get third. Doesn't
Yeah.
mean he is, but I mean it's one. If you build a nice trifecta and you don't put him third and he finishes third and it still pays, you're going to
Yeah.
want to kick yourself. So,
Yeah.
I definitely would recommend throwing him in there. But yeah, I was on the 9 Tappan Street. My second choice would have been the 4 Disruptor as well. In my throw-ins, outside of maybe throwing in the 2, everything Chalky kind of said is where I'm at. Jason, hopefully you have a different opinion, or if not, throw it out there.
Unfortunately, it's pretty much word for word for what both of you guys said. So, I'm trying to beat Sovereignty. Jockey change. Doesn't really need to win this race, so he doesn't have to be totally cranked, right? Um, I'm going to be too deep. My top choice is going to be 9 Tappan Street. Think he's going to sit off the speed of the 1, 4, and 8. He was a highly regarded horse. He's the one that got caught by Sovereignty in the last race. But I don't like the post, as Tommy said. It's a tough post at Gulfstream, but he's a pretty good horse. I like the 4 Disruptor almost as much as I like the 9 Tappan Street. It's just, if you forced me to pick one of them, I would pick the 9. But the 4 Disruptors, Pletcher and Irad, 2 sprints to a route. Like I said, he's getting Irad. The only thing I'll disagree slightly with Chalky is I don't think Irad is aggressive. And I think Irad might make him sit off and not, because I think you had said he might go wire to wire with him. I don't know. I kind of see Irad sitting off with this horse, sitting right
Yeah,
off.
I actually agree with Jason on that. I
Yeah.
think he could, and maybe if he catches a flyer or something, he goes with it. But Irad's a horse that he rides out of the gate. If he gets a horse, he'll go.
Yeah.
Even
Yeah.
if he gets a decent start, I think he'll want to sit right off too. And
I don't know.
thought-
I don't know that is the game plan. I've just seen it happen too much where he just puts him to sleep on the lead and nobody goes with him. That
I just think there's other, like I think Zayas will be
that horse is going. That horse is going.
I thought it was
for
the one.
sure.
And then Rosario, a lot of times will try to use a horse for the lead. Now
Yeah.
he's a wild card because there's other times where he doesn't. You kind of
Yeah.
just don't know.
Yeah.
But I agree with Jason.
And then speaking of that one, I know, Tom, you liked him in the last race. I kind of agree with this race too. I think he could kind of hang around and maybe catch the board, not win, but catch the board. And Sovereignty, kind of like Tommy said, you can't really totally throw him out. Like I think he's just good enough to get third, right? So I wouldn't bet him any. I mean, I might throw him second, if I was trying to pound an exacta or something like that, but no higher than second. But for most of my bets would be with him third, him either the 1 or the 3 third. So
Yeah, I mean, you can envision a race where maybe he is better than these horses, but Franco makes his move a little bit too late and just doesn't catch Disruptor or
and I
Tappan
I
Street.
said
And
I meant 1 or 10 third, not the 3.
yeah, got it. And then it just doesn't catch the horse on the lead, but does finish second. So to Jason's point, it's just hard to totally throw. The horse that obviously has the best numbers by pretty wide margin.
He
when it
could
comes to
just be a really, 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 really good horse, and that could be too.
Yeah, he made up a lot of ground in that race late. I mean, it was you got to give the horse credit.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, we're all going to die on the sword with the same opinions here. So the podcast is out on a limb here. So
Maybe we make a bet. Maybe we make a podcast bet.
We'll see how it comes back.
Figure that out. The one thing we didn't specifically, we're all off of Madaket Road, but Baffert almost never comes into this race.
I was going to say that too.
And so that was eyebrow raise, but right now the horse is sitting 17th in the points, so it needs top 3 to solidify the Derby. But that ownership group, which is it's 60 different owners, but it's Saul Kuman, Starlight, they could have 4 horses in the Derby because they have Madaket Road, they have Citizen Bull, who if he's healthy is in the Derby already. They have the horse that won the Sunland Derby, whose name has escaped me in a moment, and they have that Cornucopian, which is running at Oaklawn. So
he could be a monster.
He's trying to spread them out and hit every race, and he could have 20% of the starters with the same owners in the Derby if it gets to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean he one thing though with Baffert, his numbers are actually pretty good when he does do equipment changes in these graded stakes races. So
Yeah, I saw
he's
that with
taking
the
wages off.
getaway car is the other horse he won at Sunland.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, again, 7-2. Baffert. I don't know if that might go. I don't know. I think 8-5 is a little short on Sovereignty. I don't
Yeah.
think he's going to go off any lower than 8-5. I think
No.
if anything, he's going to go up. And Disruptor at 4-1, you might see a little lower on Disruptor. It was my
Yeah.
thought.
So when I handicapped this, I didn't have odds because Gulfstream waits forever for odds, and I had assumed that it would be Sovereignty, Tappan Street, Disruptor, Matticat Road. In the order of odds. So
Mhm.
I thought I thought Disruptor would be lower than 4-1 too.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
was
and it's actually
yeah.
Tappan Road's last in that quad.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, I disagree with that too. I think Tappan Road should be the second choice, or Tappan Street, whatever his name is.
But I think betting wise, it could easily be fourth behind those other three that you mentioned.
Yeah, I mean, the Pletchers in Florida usually get hit. And
It's Pletcher,
Baffert-
Irad, Rapoli, like they're going to get
Yeah.
bet.
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Race 14, Gulfstream Park, mile and 8 Florida Derby at 6:42 Eastern time on the East Coast here. So we'll what do we have next week? We have some more preps for the Derby, so we'll recap. We'll talk about this race.
Next week we'll have the Wood, we'll have the Santa Anita Derby, and we'll have the
Bluegrass, yeah.
Okay.
It'll be
So
a heavy.
we'll
So-
recap this race.
Pretty much
which
the last major preps, right, with Arkansas this week, and then those will be the last big three.
Yeah.
Yeah, then we'll start talking a little Derby.
Yeah, so all right. Well, episode
Uh,
150.
Before you sign off, Tom, Jimmy D sent us a poem. Chalky, if you have it handy,
I have it, yeah. I can read it in from our
We'll end with the
We'll end with that and just tell everybody we'll be back next week with heavy horse racing.
heavy horse racing. All right, so from our good friend Jimmy D, he sends the following for the start of the baseball season. Baseball, the standard by which we measure summer's moments and once again revisit the timeless reflection in the mirror of our youth. Opening day comes as surely as the spring shower melts away the winter frost, bringing with it the eternal hopes and dreams of the faithful. That it follows our most holy day surely can be no unplanned event. God must be a loyal fan, though I don't think he's overjoyed with the Cubs. Life breathes again, filled with popcorn, peanuts, and beer. Take the time to find your ballpark. You don't want to miss those words. Play ball. Episode 150 of the Broad Street Hustle. We'll see you next week.